Welcome to We Hear Her. I'm Erin Trenbeth Murray, and I'm here today with another amazing woman who is sharing her story and insights into life lessons learned. Hi, it's Erin Trenbeth Murray with the We Hear Her podcast for women who succeed. I'm happy to be here today with Amanda Morton, who is fairly new to Women Who Succeed, we'll get into the details, I think just over a year, if I'm remembering correctly, could be longer. It's all a blur. But we're happy that Amanda's here for many reasons. One is her background in finance. We have so many young women that are interested in accounting, financial backgrounds, banking, and whenever we can have a role model as a woman in that sphere of industry, we love to have that available. But let me tell you a little bit about Amanda. She's been doing the financial industry for about the past 10 years, but before that, she owned her own hair salons, which I've just been learning a little bit about and are fascinating. She's with Cyprus Credit Union, and she joined them in the summer of 2022 as the Vice President of Relationship Development. In this position, Amanda oversees all the relationship development, the public relations, and financial education efforts for the credit union. She is very proud to be part of a senior leadership team that is 56% women in a male-dominated industry. She is extremely passionate about women supporting women, women helping one another thrive in every aspect of their lives, and believes every table should have equal gender representation at it. Wow.
Yes.
Love it. Well, thank you for being here, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So like I was saying, we do have, it's really interesting, we have, we're going on our third year, right? 3 years? But we have increasingly women from different business schools across the state that have interests, or like in high school going into college, and they have an interest in accounting, banking, financing, and there's so few female role models in our community. How does that feel? Is that exciting for you, or is that a burden for you? Like, what does that put undue pressure on you, or?
It's so exciting for me because I've always been one to, my bio says, I want to lift women up. But I think the reason that so few women go into it is intimidating to walk into a room and be the only woman in a boardroom full of men. And even before that, to walk into, let's say in my industry, a branch, if it's primarily a male staff and you're the only girl, it doesn't always feel comfortable. But that is changing. And so, I always just welcome women to try it out. It also sometimes is intimidating to do something that has just generally been perceived as a male role. Yeah. That's just not the case anymore. We don't necessarily think of finance strictly as a male role, except for, have you ever noticed someone says, do you have a guy for that? When you're talking about financial advising or things like that.
Yeah.
I would love to change that, right? Just to have, do you have a person for that? Or can I?
Someone I can talk to?
Yes, exactly. But I don't think there's nothing meant by it. It's just kind of the vernacular that we use. But I would like to change that.
I like that. How long have you been in Women Who Succeed?
About a year now, I want to say.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I thought that's what it had been about, but I've seen you at a couple of events. You just reminded me one that you came to that was at the University of Utah.
Yes.
And which is so smart because Cyprus Credit Union, what a great place.
Yes.
Honestly, that getting kids to start understanding about money markets and where their money is going and IRAs, and love Cyprus Credit Union for making it easy for students to do that and to start building their savings, their managing their money, their credit, all of those things. But when you came to the event, I was thinking how energetic you were. You were so. And that was just like the first time I met you, and the same as right now. Like such a positive attitude and energy, and just like a go-get-em attitude. What is it in you is this your job that fuels you? Is it your family? Yeah. What lights a fire in you?
There's a few different answers to that. One is I am so passionate about financial literacy. And the reason is because I myself didn't understand it until I felt like I was probably older than I should have been. So, being a back when I was in college, many, many eons ago, right? They used to just kind of hand out credit cards on the spot.
Oh yeah.
There, you know,
oh, I got them.
You're walking to class.
Yeah.
Do you want a credit card? Yes. It didn't have your name embossed on it, but you just got something with a logo, a Visa or MasterCard logo on it. That was my first experience with a credit card. It's this huge company, and I didn't understand it. I thought, oh, they gave me a $200 limit. That means I have like $200 in this account, is what I thought it was. And I remember I got the statement in the mail, and it said payment $10. That was the minimum payment. I thought that's all I had to pay, right? And so I put a $10 bill in an envelope and mailed it to this company. I have no idea if that ever got there. I don't remember what happened, but that's not how it should have happened. Right? That's not how it happens. And that I didn't decide to really dig into my own finances until shortly after that. And I realized, wow, I have actually not necessarily hurt myself, but I could have been doing more a lot sooner. And so I want to make sure that people know that there's information available to them, and there's genuinely people who want to help them. And it's not some scary person sitting behind a desk who's going to stamp your loan application denied, right? It's just another person who's the same as you and I, who you can talk to about this stuff.
I've had lots of interesting conversations with Jackie Zanger, who's a member of Women Who Succeed, and others, wondering why women have, and I'm gonna, a little stereotyping there, but a lot more common, it appears. A lot of women seem to not be as financially literate as they could be. Dana Grinnell, she was really passionate about women owning their own finance and others. Where do you think that could pivot or start? What are the small baby steps that would help empower young women and maybe a 50-year-old that has not done what they should have done, and now it's too embarrassing to point out that they're not sure what they should be, where they should be looking for assistance, or what they should be doing with their money? How does one kind of make that pivot?
I'm so glad you asked that, because the number one issue I see with women once you get older is shame. They feel shameful that they don't understand it. And as women, we already take on enough shame in different ways.
Enough guilt.
Right? And it's not one of the areas that we need to do it in. However, I understand that it does happen. I think the pivot point, though, if you don't want this to be something that becomes generational, maybe for your daughter or your future granddaughter or whoever, is you have to actually allow them to see you actively participating in the finances and being in the know. So even if you don't know, find a way to figure it out, right? And have conversations with your daughter about these things. Create a budget together when they get their first job. Maybe talk about their savings. Just the conversation alone, like anything with your kids, is going to completely change the trajectory of how they believe this is going to look for them long term. So I think it's just having the conversation is really the pivotal point. Just like with mental health, you know, it used to be so taboo to talk about mental health. And now I hope everyone feels that I do, that it's pretty acceptable to talk about it.
Sure, right.
That's where we should be with finances. That's where we should be with money. That it's completely okay to talk about it. And it's not one of those things that is not a no-no at the dinner table. You know, those old school, don't talk about religion.
Politics,
don't talk
religion,
about
money.
No, let's talk about money. You know, let's talk
have those
about
awkward, hard conversations.
Yes, let's talk about the fact that your money is not earning 5% in a certificate of deposit. You know, these types of things. I also believe that not only having the conversations, but actually allowing them to physically practice. As parents, we want to do everything for our kids to make it easier, right? And that's a whole other topic of conversation. You know, for good or for bad, it is what it is. But when we don't allow our kids to practice and fail before it's really going to hurt them, then we've done them a disservice. So making sure that they get a checking account when they get their first direct deposit. Don't just have it come into your account and then give them, you know, money here and there to spend. Don't let them live through Venmo. That's not a bank, right? They're never going to understand what money actually looks like if they don't get to practice with it.
Well, to that point, can we talk for a little bit about establishing credit?
Yeah.
Just for the young women who may be watching. And my children, my boys, we had set up $500, you know, credit cards with them to practice the payment while that was safe. While they were, I think they were probably 17. I'm 16 or 17, I think. So establishing credit for them independently has not come up, but recently I've had with my work with we do a lot of programs with a lot of different levels of high school and college age students. It has come up in a situation where many, many, many young people are not qualifying for something because they don't have any established credit.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're 20, 21 years old. And
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, I thought you should have been doing that like the last couple of years.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about a safe way that young people can go about doing that?
Absolutely, yes. Back when I used to work in branches and I would see all the loan applications come in for maybe a first-time auto buyer. That's usually most commonly when people try to get credit for the first time. The biggest issue is that you're exactly correct that they have no credit. And so what happens is they have to rely on a parent, come up with a pretty hefty down payment, or go to a place that's going to give them a very large interest rate, right? And none of which are the ideal scenario, especially when you're trying to make it on your own as a 20-something-year-old. So the best option, if you can be financially responsible with it, and there's a lot of ways to be financially responsible with it, but is getting your starter credit card. So whether that is something like you did, it sounds like maybe, I'm not sure if it's a secure credit card or not, or you can ask a parent to co-sign on a credit card with a small limit with you. But the caveat there is the smart part, right? Don't be like I was with this $200 Visa credit card and not really understanding it. You have to, if you're going to get the tool, you have to understand the tool. And so whether that means that you choose to talk to a professional, do research through reputable companies on the internet, understand the tool if you're going to use it. But to me, the best thing, when my stepdaughter turned 18, we had her get a credit card, and then I said, just put it in your drawer, don't even carry it. Just let it report positively for you. That's all that matters. And so that's actually the advice that I would give again.
I love that. Why was it interesting to you to join Women Who Succeed?
I'm genuinely curious about everybody's story and about how everybody got where they are, because most women, in fact, now that I'm saying most, probably all women that I talk to are not in the position that they intended to be, and not as in a bad way. Their path, they started down this path, right, and the brick road kind of got built as they were going, and I think that road is the most interesting thing to learn about. Just earlier we were having a conversation out in the lobby talking about how when we look back over 20 years, so thankful for all of the different things that have happened, and how at the time it may have been heartbreaking if there was a position you didn't get or something didn't work out, but how it worked out so perfectly now. I love hearing other women's stories like that. And being able to come to them. I'm a huge fan of developing my own mentors. So being able to come to them and say, here's the problem I'm having. Have you dealt with this before? What do you recommend that I do? And this is the program I think that can happen in.
Just like you said in your bio. I mean, lifting other women.
Yes.
Leaning in. How'd you hear about Women Who Succeed? Remind me again. Do you remember?
No.
I can't remember.
I think I saw one of these podcasts.
Because I feel like you reached out to
us. I did reach out to you.
That's pretty bold. I mean, honestly, we have about 80-ish now women, close to 200 women that are members. And I bet I can count on one hand how many on their own reached out versus came along from a network of someone else.
Yeah.
So what do you think, maybe in your upbringing, whether nature or nurture, makes you the bold, courageous woman that you are?
Oh my gosh, that is a tough question. What's funny, do you think that that's bold? I think that's just what you're supposed to do.
If I tell you, I can think of 3 women that have done that out of almost 200.
Yeah, I just think that's what I think that one of the reasons I have found success is I've just not been afraid to be bold. My mom is probably the strongest person I've ever met. I think a lot of us think that of our moms, and I'm sure it's true of all of them. But I just watched her be very quietly strong, and not that that's a bad thing, but I've just never been quietly strong. I've always been the opposite, which was, we're going to make this happen. The answer is not going to be no, and if it is no, then how can it be yes in 6 months or a year or something like that? So, it didn't even occur to me not just to reach out.
Yeah, that's so funny. What do you think, speaking of your mom, what do you think the number one life lesson is that she taught you that you've carried with you into your adult life?
That literally anything is possible. That whether it means you have to work extraordinarily hard for a period of time, or you're in a time of rest, or whatever it is, you will get through it. It is never going to be insurmountable. It's always possible. I watched her, her and my dad have been married for, oh my gosh, I think it's almost 50 years now. And throughout their entire marriage, I watched them go through raising a family, and my dad was an educator and my mom worked at the university, and so not exactly like we had some lavish lifestyle, right? There's things that come with having a family of four and being in the education system as your profession, and I watched them overcome so many things, and I think that's how I've always known, and their marriage has always been strong and still together, so that it's just always going to be possible. And but the funny thing is, it's not like she ever said that to me. I just saw it through her actions.
You saw it.
Mm-hmm. I always, it seemed like it was never not going to happen, whatever needed to happen.
Huh. I love that. Well, what advice, as we kind of wrap things up, what advice would you give to some of the young women that are now moving from the high school to the college? Like, what would you have told yourself if you could have said something to yourself at 17?
I would tell yourself to take complete accountability for everything. So the reason I say that is, and I did this too, it is very easy to say, oh, well, because of this professor didn't like this. No, what is your piece in that? What's your accountability in that? Did you choose to mishear whatever the project was? Did you not show up to class? Did you not go to the office hours to ask additional questions? There's always something more that you can do to improve the situation. It is very rare that a situation you've lost complete control of the situation. And so I think that if you hold yourself accountable, you'll find success no matter what. And that's going to go on into your career and carry you so far if you have complete accountability.
I love that. Everything that you've described in that piece and a couple of times earlier is basically, how do you get to yes? How are you going to figure this out? How is this going to come out in a positive way?
Yes.
What part do you play in that?
Yes.
I love that so much. Well, I'm so happy you could be here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today as well.
Thanks for spending some time with us. Everybody should get an account. Cyprus Credit Union, right? So that is it for today for the We Hear Her podcast. And again, I'm Erin. We hope to have you join us next time. And for more information, please go to womenwhosucceed.org. Thanks now. Thank you for taking the time to hear her. Join our efforts and learn more about Women Who Succeed at womenwhosucceed.org.